All right, so we're going to talk about the other way of us really focusing on how we can program and train and improve that skill of creating and maintaining intra-abdominal pressure with our activities. And that is the load strain. So how much load can we actually move while maintaining intra-abdominal pressure, which, once again for review, is the ability to breathe in, create that outward pressure into the spine and into the abdominal wall to create a buttress or support from the front side of the spine, so we aren't just using the back of the spine. That back strap, that 30 degrees here, we want to use that full 360. Now, we're going to go over a deadlift here, and deadlift is a fantastic way for us to really start to progress into owning that skill. We're going to go back to the very beginning where we started, which was just on all fours, learning how to breathe. We started off with a band kind of pulling us down, being able to breathe into it. And then as we breathe out, resisting the downward pressure of the band. Now, when we take this position here, it's very similar to our body position, our body mechanics at the bottom of the deadlift. So knees bent, and the one thing that really changes is our hand position. So right here, I can just pop up, and now I'm in that bottom of my deadlift, just instead of hands here. Now we have the weight right underneath us. With this, when we start going into that load strain, there are a couple of other things that we really need to be key about. A couple of principles to really improve the ability to maintain our abdominal wall and to effectively lift a load like this kettlebell here. So the first thing being, as we go to approach the weight, whether it's in the gym or in life, we want our center of mass to be as close as possible to the center of mass of the object that we're trying to move. The object's center of mass, and this is very consolidated, it's right through the middle of this kettlebell. For me, I want that center of mass to be right through the arch of my foot. So I'm going to get the arch of my foot in line with the middle of that weight. That way, whenever the weight comes off the ground, it doesn't have to transition into the plane where my center of mass is at. It just is naturally right there. So that helps to avoid a big flexion pulling moment on the spine as it goes into that transition. So right here, once we come down, I'm going to get into that same kind of position that we were in on all fours. So hips are back, butt is down, hands are on the kettlebell. Now, this is a fairly heavy kettlebell. It's about 125 pounds. And starting with something heavy can actually be really good because we can build up a lot of effort, build up a lot of load without actually having movement. So in this position, I can just work on slowly pushing my feet into the ground and feeling my abdominal wall engage. So I don't even need to just, you can create that pressure with breath. You can also create it with intensity. So right here, I'm going to just focus on the floor because that's the only place that we can create power and effort and support outside of our body. Right in here is the floor. And I don't want to focus on actually trying to move the kettlebell. I just want to increase pressure into the floor, and then all of that pressure really transitions into the kettlebell if we maintain really good posture and some stiffness through our trunk. So right here, I'm just going to slowly press a little harder, a little harder, a little harder, a little harder, until right before it starts to float and then decrease. Press a little bit harder, 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 and then slowly decrease. So learning how to modulate our intensity is very, very important, and using something very heavy is great for that. Once you really master that skill, now we can work on coming down, staying nice and long through the spine. Pressure in, slowly build up pressure, build up pressure, build up pressure until the weight starts to float, come all the way up. Now reversing that all the way down. That way when we come down, we're not going with our butt leading the movement. We actually need our chest to join us so we don't create that big extension moment and that compression on the backside of our spine when we start lifting heavy objects. So train for your life, train for your sport, whatever you need to do out in the real world, You really need to be able to do heavier than that in a very contained space, like what we have here at Total Performance.